Welcome back. This is the last video in this chapter. We'll briefly go over how to use Matplotlib and Seaborn for data visualization. Let me show you. So if we wanted to plot, for example, two columns against each other, let's remember what our CSV looks like using csv.info. Here we go. We see net income, gross profit. Let's choose two columns to use to plot against each other in a scatter plot. So a scatter plot is a general plot. It looks something like this. You've seen those before. Really simple to do in Python. So we're going to be importing Matplotlib as PLT. Standard procedure, matplotlib.pyplot as PLT. That's the specific module we'll be using. Now the function for scatter plots is really intuitive. Plot.scatter. And then we need two inputs, our x and our y. So we can define our inputs as x equals and y equals. So let's choose a column for our x and our y. It doesn't have to be something that we know will be strongly correlated, but I'm just guessing that operating income and gross profit operating income and gross profit might be strongly correlated. Let's see if that's the case. To show our plot, we type plot.show. How easy is this? And then just run our file, and here we are. We have a scatter plot, and you can see we can map this linearly. And there are many ways to build a model that represents this data, and we'll get into that in the next chapter. But this is how you generate a scatter plot. What if we wanted to generate like a distribution or like a histogram? To generate a histogram that shows us the distribution of data, we can just do plot.hist and then we choose some input. Let's use operating income. And if we do plot.show, we can see the distribution of data. Pretty cool, right? There are many other plots that we'll be able to generate, but I think one of the coolest plots is what Seaborn can offer. Seaborn offers heat maps and a really cool plot called a pair plot. Let's see how those work. So a pair plot is really cool because it shows us every column plotted against itself. So if we import Seaborn as SNS, Seaborn is another data visualization library, and we do sns.pairplot. This is going to be cool. And just use our CSV as our input. That's all we need. And show our plot. It will take a minute to generate, but when it does generate, it looks super cool. It's plotting every column against itself and seeing what the correlations are visually. So what do the graphs look like? Because it's very intensive, it takes about 30 seconds to a minute to generate. Whoa, check that plot out. Let's take a look. It's really tiny and it might not be useful for a data set like this, but we can see every column plotted against itself. How cool is that? And across the main diagonal, we see distribution plots. You might have to zoom in, and this is more useful for smaller data sets, but it's still really cool. And the last thing we can do is take all of these correlations that we mapped out visually and put them on a heat map. And a heat map is just showing us the correlations between different columns in themselves. So if we say sns.heatmap, and again, import, use csv.core. csv.core means we're looking at the correlations between the columns in our data, and then show our plot. That's really cool. We see the numerical correlations between every column and itself. And we can also see, if we set the annotate function to true, we can see the numerical values in our heat map, as you see here. You might have to zoom in or make it a little bit larger. But how cool is this? Okay, that's all we've got for data visualization. You've completed chapter 2. In the next chapter, we're going to be talking about our first machine learning algorithm. Get ready, because it's probably my favorite.